time for the discussion.
Said Al-Fawz.
Regional and national.
As you are aware, that it's more than 10 years since the EAC partner states embraced the EAC single customs territory regime. We thank and commend different players and development partners, including some of you in this gathering, for putting efforts and enhancing interconnectivity of customs systems to facilitate seamless exchange of trade information and faster clearance of goods across our borders. We even thank stakeholders even from the clearing and forwarding fraternity for their efforts and agreeing to work with all government agencies in fostering trade. Although some of the challenges remain, we are proud of the gains in terms of trade volume, time and costs from the implementation of the EAC single customs territory. For illustration, in 2022, total interregional trade grew by 11.2. The total export from EAC region to the rest of the world was valued 20.139 billion, while total imports from the rest of the world to EAC partner states amounted to 53.891 billion. This is an increase from earlier years to almost 11.1%. But we still, as member states of EAC, need to embrace value addition and export because the imbalance continues. During the last 2 days, stakeholders and experts from EAC partner states made recommendations to be escalated to you, representative commissioners, and other decision makers with the aim to get immediate, short-term, medium-term, and all reasonable timelines. Some of the issues that were raised here include that Revenue Authority should put in place mechanism to share data in the clearance of cargo in the single customs territory. There is a need for geofencing. Some of this will be discussed into detail. Some of the member states need to embrace LECTS, that's Regional Electronic Tracking System. Some of the member states, like DRC and South Sudan, need to implement the EAC single customs territory. And it asks regional agencies and development partners to assist them to implement this. Regional revenue authorities to allow transporters to acquire and own the RECTS gadgets. I know this has been a hot discussion in some of the forums because of sometimes the shortage of these RECTS. Customs authorities should monitor the movement of containers across the region and regulate the period of stay of containers in respective member states. As Northern Corridor Secretariat, we have noted that some of the costs of container depots are very high for member states like South Sudan because of sometimes default to bring back containers. We have been preaching and communicating to member states in forums, especially in South Sudan, on how these containers still belong to the shipping line and need to be returned. And we are thinking that maybe we need a government agency like revenue authorities to enter and assist us in this monitoring. Another recommendation is revenue authorities should put in place a mechanism for the private sector to operate gross payment accounts, especially for the payment of small fees, such as alteration fees, which may arise anytime during the process of clearance of goods to minimize delays. There was a specific recommendation on URA to fast-track the licensing process for Mahati Oil Jetty to handle transit petroleum products. This we have also discussed with URA in Uganda when we visited Mahati. I urge all those involved in decision-making and day-to-day implementation of single customs territory and the remove of NTBs to hasten our efforts towards implementation of the study recommendations and discussions that have been highlighted in the last 2 days. I wish you all good deliberations today, and I wish to declare this meeting officially opened. I thank you. We are holding this 3 days meeting, which started on Monday, looking at the single customs territory and the non-tariff barriers along the corridors of East African Community member states. As you are aware, the single customs territory was implemented in 2014. There are a lot of gains that have resulted in that implementation. However, there are still several impending challenges along the corridor. So we have been meeting here. We met on Monday to look at the single customs territory and the impacts and the challenges. We met yesterday with stakeholders from member states to look at the non-tariff barriers along our corridors. Today we have a meeting with the commissioners of customs, all their representatives of the EAC partner states, looking at those challenges and how we can solve them for the smooth flow of cargo along the corridors and the trade, both export, import, and intra-trade within these member countries.
Some efforts have been put in place, integrating the systems and knowing that the goods that are moving from one partner state going to the other are facilitated quickly. So currently the integration has taken place in say Namanga, the Busia border, but you will find that much as they say that it's customs or the authorities, there are times where other factors come in. For instance, if there is a system downtown, then it means you'll have to wait for the other system to be up and running. But most of the officers have made effort of making alternative ways of declaring, and then the movement is smooth. Where we have transport delays, then you will see each person wants to be allowed to go ahead of the other. And that one has been addressed in situations where it arises by both authorities from the other side talking and agreeing to make the jam to move out of the border. Let's allow this good to be examined on the other side instead of causing the delays.